Just stay calm. Everything will be fine.
Ada!
Yes, I'm here.
Why is the house so quiet?
I was in the kitchen making tea.
The morning Ada died began like every other morning in the busy city. Traffic was already building on the main road. Vendors were arranging their goods by the roadside. Buses honked impatiently and people rushed to work with phones pressed to their ears. Inside a small two-bedroom apartment on the third floor of a quiet residential building, Ada stood in the kitchen staring at the kettle as steam slowly rose into the air. Her eyes looked tired. Not the kind of tired that sleep could fix, the kind that settles deep inside a person after months, sometimes years of silent suffering. Ada was 28 years old. She lived in the modern part of the city where people shared photos of happy marriages online, where couples posted smiling pictures on social media and wrote captions about love, loyalty, and forever. From the outside, Ada marriage looked exactly like that. If someone visited her social media page, they would see carefully chosen photos, a smiling couple at a restaurant, a birthday dinner, a picture of flowers Daniel once brought home. What no one could see was the truth behind those pictures. The apartment door suddenly opened. Ada's body stiffened immediately. She didn't even have to turn around to know Daniel had entered. She could recognize the sound of his footsteps anywhere. Slow, heavy, impatient. Daniel dropped his car key loudly on the dining table. "Why is this house so quiet?" he said sharply. Ada quickly turned off the kettle and wiped her hand on a towel. "I was making tea," she said softly. Daniel walked into the kitchen, his tall frame filling the doorway. His eyes scanned the room as if he was searching for something wrong, something to criticize. "Tea," he scoffed. "You know I prefer coffee in the morning." Ada's heart sank. She had forgotten. "I am sorry," she said quickly. "I will make the coffee now." Daniel leaned against the wall, watching her. There was something about the way he watched her that made Ada uncomfortable, like she was always being inspected, judged, measured, and always found lacking. She opened the cupboard and reached out for coffee jar. Her hands trembled slightly. Daniel noticed and he said, "You are checking again." Ada forced a small smile. "I am just tired," she said. Daniel laughed quietly, but there was no humor in it. "Tired? From doing what exactly?" Ada didn't answer. Experience had already taught her that explanation rarely helped. They only gave Daniel more opportunities to continue the argument. So she focused on preparing the coffee, carefully, quietly, trying not to make any mistake. Daniel walked back into the living room and turned on the television. The sound filled the apartment. Ada brought the coffee a few minutes later and placed it gently on the table. Daniel took a sip, then he frowned. "This is cold," he said loudly. Ada blinked in confusion. She had just poured it now, so it can't be. Daniel slammed the cup on the table so hard that some coffee slipped onto the glass surface. "Are you arguing with me?" he said. Ada's stomach tightened instantly. "I am not arguing with you," she said softly. "I will make another one right away." She quickly took the cup back to the kitchen. Her heart was beating so fast. "Morning like this were dangerous," she murmured. Small things could easily turn into big problems. And Ada had learned that once Daniel's mood turned dark, it was almost impossible to calm him down. And as she prepared another cup, she glanced briefly at her phone lying on the counter. Several unread messages sat on the screen. One from her best friend, another from her mother. Ada hadn't responded to either of them yet, not because she didn't want to, but because Daniel hated when she spent too much time talking to other people, especially about personal matters. He believed that marriage problems could stay inside the home, even when those problems were slowly destroying someone. Ada returned to the living room with the new cup of coffee. Daniel took it without looking at her. He scrolled through his phone while drinking. For a moment, the apartment was silent except for the television. Ada stood there unsure whether to sit or return to the kitchen. Finally, Daniel spoke again. "Who were you
Who were
texting
you
last
texting
night?"
last night?
Ada
No one.
froze.
No one.
Her
I was just
mind
watching
raced
videos.
quickly. "No one," she said. "I was just watching videos." Daniel slowly raised her eyes from his phone. "You are lying." Ada's chest tightened. I am not, Ada said. Daniel reached across the table and grabbed her phone. He unlocked it easily. He already knew the password. Ada watched quietly as he opened her messages. His expression darkened. So you are chatting with your friend again, he said. She asked how I was doing. Ada replied carefully. Daniel threw the phone onto the sofa. I have told you before,
She
that
asked too
girl
many
fills your
questions.
She
head
was
with
just checking on
nonsense.
me.
Checking on you
Ada
for what?
felt a
I told you before,
familiar
stop discussing our
heaviness
marriage with
settled
people.
in her chest. She's just concerned about me, Ada said. She's interfering, Daniel
She
said
makes you
loudly.
think you're
She
unhappy
wants you
here.
to
I
think that
didn't
you're
say
unhappy
that.
in
You
your
don't need to
marriage.
say it.
Ada stared at the floor. The truth was that Ada had stopped telling her friend most things long ago. She had become very good in hiding the truth because every time Daniel discovered she had shared something about their relationship, the consequences were unbearable. Daniel stood up suddenly. Her chair scrambled loudly against the floor. Sometimes I wonder if you even respect this marriage, he said loudly. Ada looked up, startled. I do respect it. Then act like it, Daniel said. His voice echoed through the room. Ada felt her throat had tightened. Neighbors lived close by. Thin apartment walls meant people would sometimes hear arguments, but Daniel never seemed to care. He walked towards the window and stared outside. For several minutes, neither of them spoke. Ada remained standing beside the table, unsure of what to do next. Moments like these were unpredictable. Daniel could suddenly count down, or anger could explode again without warning. Finally, he grabbed his car key. I am leaving, he said. Try to keep the house in order for once. The door slammed behind him. The sudden silence that followed felt heavy. Ada stood still for a long moment, then slowly she sat down. Her hands rested on the table. They were still shaking. She stared at the coffee stain Daniel had left earlier, a small dark circle on the glass surface. Ada reached for a cloth and wiped it away carefully. Cleaning had become one of the ways she tried to control the chaos around her. If the house was perfect, maybe Daniel could be calmer. Maybe there would be few arguments. But deep down, she knew the truth. Nothing she ever did seemed to be enough. After cleaning the table, Ada picked up her phone again. Her friend had sent another message. Are you okay? You have been quiet lately. Ada stared at the words for a long time. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. She wanted to type the truth. She wanted to tell someone how exhausting it had become to live like this. But fear stopped her. Daniel could return at any moment. Ada quickly locked the phone and placed it back on the counter. Instead, she began cleaning the apartment, the living room, the kitchen, the hallway. By afternoon, the entire place was spotless, but the silence inside the apartment felt heavier with every passing hour. When evening came, the sky outside turned dark gray. Ada prepared dinner quietly. She placed two plates on the table, one for her, one for Daniel. Hours passed, but still, Daniel didn't return. Ada sat on the sofa, scrolling through her phone without really seeing anything on the screen. Every sound from the hallway made her look towards the door, her heart beating faster each time. Finally, close to midnight, the door opened. Daniel walked in. He smelled strongly of alcohol. Ada stood up slowly. You are late, she said gently. Daniel looked at her with tired, irritated eyes. So now you are keeping track of my time. Ada shook her head quietly. No, I just meant dinner is ready. Daniel walked past her without answering. He sat at the table and began eating silently. Ada sat across from him. Neither of them spoke, but the tension in the room felt almost unbearable. After a few minutes, Daniel dropped his fork onto the table. This food is cold. Ada heart sank again. I can heat it up. Daniel pushed the plate away. Forget it. He stood up suddenly. His chair cracked backward onto the floor. Ada flinched. The argument that followed would be louder than the others, more frightening, more dangerous. And though Ada didn't know it yet, that night could begin a chain of events that would eventually lead to the tragic ending of her story. Because sometimes the most dangerous storms in marriage are not the loud ones. They are the ones that quietly build behind closed doors until the day everything finally breaks. Daniel started beating Ada. The tension in the room grew heavier. Neither of them knew that this night would be the beginning of the final storm in their marriage, a storm that would soon destroy everything. And when the truth finally came out, the world outside the apartment realized that Ada had been fighting a silent battle for far too long. See you guys on the part 2.